My name is Umer. I'm the director of Grey Noise Gallery. Grey Noise basically is representing emerging and emerged artists. We started off looking at South Asia, specifically Lahore, where I trained myself as an artist. And I had a good interaction with the artist community in Lahore. And then I grew up in the UAE. I was brought up in Sharjah and Dubai. So I then came back and then started the gallery actually in Lahore and then moved here in 2012. Now we are expanding the gallery. We're mostly looking at conceptual artists who address interests in minimalism, who also don't really specifically look at a window of geographically making work about their cities. I mean, I'm interested in people who work with aesthetics mostly, and that has been my focus. And now we're expanding and looking at Beirut, Lebanon in general, and also interested in exploring Brazil. Well, I think for any gallery, I'm 7 years old as a gallery. We did Liste thrice from 2012, 13 and 14. We applied in 2013 for 2014, but we were waitlisted for statements. And last year we applied again and we got accepted. So I think no matter how calm I look, I mean internally we're pleased. It's a milestone for a gallery to participate in that fair because it is competitive. Specifically, statement section is quite competitive, and they look at artists' practice, which really pushes the boundary of limitations which you construct while making work. And I'm overwhelmed actually. I'm very, very humbled. I think it's, I mean, as Dubai is a young art scene, it's not that old. Of course there's history in this region, but now is the time to recollect it. And we are the voice of the younger generation, which is much more savvy of computer, they're more savvy of communicating, of, pushing their limits to another extent in a way. So I think, I don't think that you can develop a market unless you launch it. I mean, I'm taking risk. Everybody is quite aware of it. I don't have collectors in this region, very few people I work with. And now I'm forming some formal respect or educating people to also look at another form of practice, which is pretty much acceptable anywhere in the world. So it's a matter of time, and I think I really firmly believe that this will also pass one day, and we will be considered maybe pioneers one day. I don't know when, but Dubai has a strange aura, a lot of preconceived, constructed notions around the city because that's how they project it. So somebody coming from Europe has seen these very slick, beautiful images of the city. But I think, the way I said, I grew up here, so I know the more organic side of it also. I know the more humble side of it also. And I guess the art world all around the world seeks some kind of way of looking at life. We always address, like Al Sarkal Avenue where we are, it resembles Los Angeles, or it resembles Chelsea in the 70s. So, I mean, we refer to history all the time. We refer to specific understanding or knowledge of things. So, characteristic develops when things get rusted, So, as a very dear friend of mine said that everything will become old one day. I mean, a new wall gets old, so maybe it will get. And specifically, my program is very much addressing silence, and the city is not silent at all. So people like that, they like to come into my gallery and meditate rather than look at screaming things, So it's another way of, I would say, inversion. I like inversion in life generally. Few galleries, a gallery's reputation is known by, sometimes it's known by their presence on the World Wide Web. On the you can Google them. And if you're slightly intelligent about good art fairs or good CV, you would just go to them particularly, and there are very few in Dubai. There are not many. There might be 70 galleries, but I think there are only, in my knowledge, in my humble knowledge, there are 5 galleries which I look at, which are the stereotypical standards of a gallery, you know, like how you engage with the global audiences. But then some collectors are collectors who collect only for decorative purposes. For that, they have several galleries, and then you just invest that money and you forget about it. But if someone who's a serious collector, I think they can Google and they can tell who's doing a longer discourse. So, for instance, I just mentioned that I'm doing Art Basel. I mean, it's a milestone for a gallery. It's not a joke. You're showing in a section which has 15 spaces and there are over 500 applicants, you know. So they're looking at your program. So a serious collector will take me seriously, and somebody who has to laugh will laugh, and they will go and buy a flower painting from some random gallery. I don't care. So it depends what your interests are. If you're interested in more of a speculative market, they have those galleries here also, which primarily is you buy and in the next year you auction and you double the price. Whereas somebody who's buying from me is looking at the longevity of the artist and the pure passion of what the artist is making. So that's how I think it reflects to your program straight away. I think it's too soon for me to give my opinion. I would like to reserve it right now, as we all read it online what's happening. It's pretty much in the picture. You can Google Guggenheim and you get the history. You Google Louvre, you get the history. So I'll just leave it at that point. I feel that they can achieve a lot if they open up. Other than tourism and other than making people aware of the fact that there are these brands which are opening up, pretty much so, which are familiar names, you hear them, but their historic presence in their cities are of much more relevance and weight to what will happen here. The power of them being in Europe is different of their power and their powers here would be totally different. So there are different setups. So I would say that it's too soon for me to come back to a point of view, but I'm looking forward to it. I mean, no matter what people say, I want to see, and then I will give my opinion or my criticism. I deal it the way I work every day. I think I work in the gallery with a specific idea, and I shared the same idea, and I think the people who are inviting me are also people who are on the similar lines, and we collaborate, and they're my friends. And the reason we are friends is because we have similar thinking processes, maybe. But I do represent Dubai, and I reflect Dubai in a very open way, because I don't close it. As I said, I don't like the borders. I'm not interested in the borders, although they are very powerful and political. But I like to represent art on the pure idea of aesthetic. And aesthetic could be in any part of the world, and people will relate to it if you have to find them. So I never knew about Brazil. I researched about it, I met friends, and I realized that the language which is being made there visually is something I address or I relate to. So that's why I'm going there now.